Is food insecurity a real thing?
Oh, it's absolutely a real thing. It's always been a real thing.
Yes, absolutely.
How familiar I am with food insecurity in North Carolina? Not familiar at all with it.
So first off, I don't necessarily believe in food insecurity as a major issue.
The cost of housing is so high that I think that has a real impact on people's stability in a lot of other areas, and food being one part of it.
Making ends meet, the cost of living, groceries, gas, everything you can think of is going through the roof.
It's been horrible.
I would say it is a real thing. You know, there are people that have the accessibility to food, and then they don't think about the food that they may waste or that they throw away that somebody else could really use. There are people that are homeless on the streets and they really don't have a place to go to. They don't have money in their pockets to, even stop by McDonald's or a simple cheap restaurant to get a burger, a fry, a drink, anything. Sometimes the things that you have, you don't appreciate it until you don't have it. There were times where I would have to make a decision on either buying Pampers or feeding us.
Now, you may have heard about food insecurity, or perhaps you've even experienced it firsthand. Sadly, this is a real issue that thousands of people face every day. So what exactly does food insecurity mean? Well, simply put, it refers to the lack of consistent access to enough food for an active, healthy life. Food insecurity is a multifaceted problem with several key components. For example, availability, the presence of sufficient quantities of food on a consistent basis. This includes the availability of food in local stores or markets. Also, access, the ability of individuals and households to obtain appropriate and nutritious food. This is often influenced by income, food prices, and proximity to food sources. Also, utilization, the proper use of food based on the knowledge of just basic nutrition and care, as well as adequate water and sanitation. It's about making the best use of the food available. And stability, the stability of the other three factors over time. Even if your food intake is adequate today, you're still considered food insecure if you have inadequate access to food on a periodic basis.
To understand the scope of food insecurity in North Carolina, we conducted a survey of 800 North Carolinians across the state. Here are some of the key findings. An overwhelming 96% of respondents noticed an increase in food prices. 82% reported finding it more difficult to afford the same amount of food compared to just 1 year ago. 45% of urban residents live more than 1 mile from the nearest supermarket or large grocery store, placing them in what we call food deserts. Nearly 39% of rural residents live more than 10 miles from the nearest supermarket or large grocery store, once again finding themselves in a food desert. Despite these challenges, over 90% of those surveyed have access to reliable transportation to get to a supermarket or large grocery store.
North Carolina's landscape is diverse, and so are the challenges our residents face. We had the opportunity to really connect with individuals from the mountains to the coast. Join us to hear what North Carolinians have to say. All right, we're at Terra Vita Farms, Mike Torbett. How long have you been doing this? How long have you been growing microgreens and making food for the rest of us?
I've been growing microgreens probably since 2014.
Okay.
I didn't start my own business until
Sure.
2016, and then we didn't move out onto this property until 2019.
So today we're at Hickory Nut Gap Farm. I'm a fourth generation farmer here. My family's been here for over 100 years. Our mission is to build community through agriculture. And our goal with that mission is to really connect the dots between healthy land, healthy soils, healthy animals, and healthy people.
Welcome to our greenhouse. So what's really unique about us is everything we start or grow here at Montgomery Sky Farm is done from seed. And so Taylor is very passionate about growing produce, and everything, as you can see, starts from seed, and we take care of it. We transplant it until plants are big enough to migrate to the field.
Tell me a little bit about the population that you serve here.
The hungry, okay? And what qualifies them as hungry? They show up at our doors on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to noon. We don't ask any more questions than that.
I think as a small farmer, the best way to get food out to people that don't have it would probably be like a CSA that they delivered, where farmers could collectively get together with their different products and then maybe bring it to the people.
Define food desert for us.
I've never heard of a food desert before. I have no idea what it is.
I've not heard of that before.
To us, food deserts are places where access to fresh food is very difficult to get or afford.
When it comes to the statement about food deserts, I can tell you from where I live right now toward Benson that I have seen that kind of issue come about. When it comes to urban ministries, we try to provide the best we can because not everybody has access to the same major markets of food. They may have access to something like a Dollar Tree or a Dollar General where they can get food. The challenge with that, though, is that they don't always have nutritious products. They don't always have meat, eggs, milk, and they may have frozen things.
Yeah, biggest concern about the food desert that I see every single day is how many people don't know. They just aren't aware, whether it be willfully or not. Some people that I speak to on a daily, and I've lived here for a very long time. This community is small, so I know a lot of people, and even people that I've grown up with here don't even know the storehouse exists. It is shocking. I mentioned, they go, oh, I've heard something about that. They don't know about it until they need it.
So for us, I think food deserts in a mountainous community, we have seen the effect of mountain towns having limited access to fresh produce. So usually if there's a local farmer in their area, chances are people aren't sourcing from that farmer. I think Taylor touched on it briefly. Their access is so limited. Most small mountain towns, it's a Dollar General is your grocer.
So I think making people aware of first of all what it is, and then looking at the legislative level and getting them at their top of the food chain to spread that awareness, and then maybe build committees that go out to these places.
I would say in North Carolina, as far as food and hygiene pantries go, we need to do better at taking the stigma away, reminding people that they are not less than of a person because they are needing food.
I think it comes down to distribution. Storage and distribution are two pieces of the puzzle that aren't glamorous, so they're not like fun for people to go down a rabbit hole on, right? But having the trucking, the refrigeration, the storage capacity, the packaging capacity to get these products to a place where they can then get to another person who's going to eat them is like a really big logistical puzzle. And so like one truck gets delayed, potentially that's like, 150 meals for people that need them. That's probably going to go in the trash because we just like couldn't get it there. And so that's the hard part about working with fresh food, right?
Well, I think a big part of that is eliminating bureaucracy, right? Trying to streamline that to where we get food and get resources directly to the front line with as minimal barriers as possible. We've got to be able to identify, and we've got to do our part by, of course, pre-qualifying and things of that nature. But we need to have more resources afforded to us that help us get resources quicker and faster and more efficient.
Well, I do think, over the last decade or so, there have been some local programs, very kind of grassroots in nature, that have developed to try to step into that gap and to connect, say local farmers with feeding efforts so that when they have times where they have a surplus of something, for example, sometimes our challenge is to figure out how do we use 500 tons of sweet potatoes that all of a sudden materialize. Part of our investment in the campus that we're sitting in now, for our first 20 years, we were in borrowed church basements and other spaces that were never ideal for a feeding effort, but it just was the best we knew how to do as a community. We were grateful for what we could access, but purchasing this land and creating a commercial soup kitchen, installing walk-in coolers and freezers, that has been huge in allowing us to accept donations that otherwise, if we were just a dry pantry, we might not be able to accept.
The price of food is affected, I know, everybody in this state. I feel it personally when I go to the store. I'd like to think, as my wife would tell me, I'd like to think we're very frugal at where we shop at. We shop at multiple places. We've even done couponing to try to save some money. Obviously, things have gone up, particularly the price of eggs and milk, for example. Those have gone at a higher level.
Cost increase, oh yeah. And inflation is, at least around here to me, seems pretty much out of control. I went to the grocery store the other day and wanted to buy some bacon, and it was $7 a pound. And I blanched. Hamburger was $10 a pound. I didn't buy either one. So yeah, groceries have gone up. Everything's gone up.
Most definitely, I have seen the prices rise up on restaurants and the groceries, but I think it may be because the inflation.
I do see a general increase in prices when I first landed in 2021 and now it is 2024. So my weekly budget is around $25 for groceries. So I can see the difference, when I first came in, that in $25 I used to get quite a bit of stuff. And in these last 3 years, the prices have increased where I just go to Food Lion, which is the nearest grocery store, and I cannot afford to get the kind of stuff I used to get. Like, I was just looking at my grocery, at my cart, and I was like, only this much stuff for $25? It's difficult. Yeah.
I could have probably $100 and just have probably like 3 bags of groceries, just to eat. I mean, I have to live, I have to pay rent, I have to pay for, transportation right now. I have to pay for, everyday living. So it's been tough for me to get groceries.
It's hard to plan. It's really hard to plan when everything is so tight. You try to be creative. As a mom of 3, I would always look for the deals and find the things for my kids to be able to enjoy things, and they never went without.
The healthy options. We live in a world that can be unhealthy, but I feel like the problem is we don't have access to the right types of foods. I feel like fruits and vegetables should be more accessible. It should be cheaper than going and buying a burger from a fast food restaurant. It should be maybe 99 cents for a head of lettuce instead of $4 or $5 for a head of lettuce.
Our biggest struggle in the past 12 months was inflation. No question. I mean, simply looking around how much stuff we sell here and realizing every single one of those products price has gone up and the price tag needs to be changed.
So the price of groceries go up because the cost to grow them has gone up, and that's just it. We fertilize our fields to cut hay for our cattle. Fertilizer has doubled in price. I remember being able to buy a tomato steak for 15 cents to steak up a tomato, and now you're paying $1.50. How does that make sense? That's why.
I mean, certainly finding a way to assist people that want to get into small-scale agriculture in some way, or, it'd be great if local small businesses could count on some kind of tax advantage or something. I mean, we give, Wilmington will fire off millions of dollars to these companies that are ostensibly going to bring jobs, and then we give them $25 million, and then they stay 4 years, and they move somewhere else when somebody else off, so I think who changes all of this is us.
What we've been trying to work on here over the last few months is figure out North Carolina's food supply system from grower to consumer. Say, where could it be improved? Can we, better transportation, energy costs, labor, all of these things. How can we improve North Carolina's food supply system and not just bring awareness, but find some real solutions that would help you grow more, help you reach better markets, help consumers reduce their prices. All of these things are puzzle pieces that fit together in a way that can get more people fed in a nutritious way, in a way that food really is medicine and fuel. And that's where I think, this is an important part for you, because you cater to, farmers markets and restaurants and all these groups. Where does it fit into the idea of food insecurity? First, tell me what you think of food insecurity and where you might fit in that puzzle.
So first off, I don't necessarily believe in food insecurity as a major issue. I do think globally there's enough food grown that we can feed every single person that lives on the planet. And what it comes down more times than not is politics, whether it's local or, country politics.
When election time comes, find out who's running and ask questions.
If what we're wanting is to see more fresh green vegetables, it probably is going to take a federal subsidy to say, if you grow this product, we'll help make up for the fact that you earn less from that product per acre from this other product.
One thing that the state of North Carolina could do that would make farming more secure and food production more secure would be to help mitigate the incredible risk that farmers take.
North Carolina is second in the nation in farmland loss projected for this year. We're not the biggest state out there, and a lot of this loss is going to development, apartments, homes. I understand people need somewhere to live.
I think that wish that policymakers knew about agriculture is that farmers, obviously from a business modeling standpoint, a difficult business model to make money. And so in that context, creating more opportunity from a business standpoint to let farmers be a little creative with their production models. And the big system is so built from a subsidy standpoint and all that it's difficult for folks to get entries. It's not very entrepreneurial.
As far as what I wish policymakers knew when it comes to food production, I mean, they have a big job ahead of them, right? They need to apply a blanket legal statement of some sort to this very heterogeneous mix of farming production systems and land. So I wish that we could get a little more creative in taking that into account, that every farm is so different. They're all operating in really different landscapes under different production parameters. And an example of something that I think has been really successful is the poultry processing exemption. For example, if you're a small farm, we know that there's really no place for people to take poultry to pay someone else to kill them. So people need to process them on site, and the legal system in North Carolina was able to be flexible there, and we have this exemption. If you kill less than 20,000 chickens a year, you can do it on your farm. I think there are some more things like that would really open up a lot of doors for people. I mean, in terms of policy I want to see more of, I think that would be labor. I think it's really easy to pay someone who works really hard no money, just because they're an ag laborer. There's also some safety exemptions for agricultural workers that I think we could fine tune a little bit. So there's definitely some places where I'd like to see more policy attention as well.
I'm particularly interested in sustainable agriculture and sustainable agricultural initiatives, right? And a lot of times this is viewed from a very partisan perspective. It doesn't have to be a partisan issue. And there can be a range of net benefits to communities, to agriculturalists, to environmentalists, to future generations, if we're able to really consider policy initiatives that encourage farmers to make smart choices.
We do need more help. We need more assistance, that there's a lot of folks here that are hurting and struggling, and we can't gloss over that fact. Even the smallest and the poorest, we've got to do a better job of really recognizing, acknowledging the resources that we need to help our community, to help pull up those folks, to give them an opportunity to have success, and not to kind of gloss over that or be so self-consumed that we don't realize that a lot of the efforts that we're putting in as a government it's falling between the cracks. There's a lot of folks out there that are falling in between that. So we've got to do better here in North Carolina, locally here in Henderson County, to provide not just money, but resources really to help equip those that are on the front lines helping these folks every single day?
I think it's a tough question to ask as far as what lawmakers can do to help breach the gap with food deserts. I think awareness is the biggest thing. I think people need to know about it, they need to hear about it, they need to be talking about it. It boils down to us as people. You know, what is important to you as a person? Is it helping others who are hungry? And that's the root nature for me, is it's about people.
And until we get a new generation of younger politicians, which actually we seem to be going in the other direction, this will in fact continue. It will continue. Basically an unsustainable scam food system, where it's cheaper to buy utter garbage than it is to buy good stuff.
I don't know the right words to say, except for I feel like maybe some of the guidelines that they use with food assistance should maybe be taken another look at. They should take another look at that. Because there are a lot of people out here in the world that are trying. And like me in my situation, I was working 50 hours a week, but I didn't qualify for food stamps. And I think they should probably take a look at that, because there are people out here who are actually trying and they need help. Lawmakers should look at that.
We sat down with North Carolinians across the state, listening to their concerns about the challenges they're up against. The question now becomes, what are the solutions? How can we effectively tackle these challenges and sow the seeds for a more secure future?